50 questions of ASPO Level 3. Simplify log base 3 of 9 plus log base 3 of 27. Apply the laws of logarithms, so it becomes log base 3 of 9 times 27, which is log base 3 of 729, rather log base 3 of 243, which is 5. Solve 5 to the x equals 125. The answer is 3. What is the natural logarithm of e to the 7? The answer is 7. If y equals a times b to the x, what is the gradient obtained by plotting log base y against x? Or rather, if y is a times b to the x, what is the gradient of the line obtained by plotting log of y against x? Okay. Alright, so we have to do logs of both sides. And then we get log y on the left. And then log a plus x log b on the right. So the gradient should be log b. Simplify x squared all to the 4. The answer is x to the 8. What is the constant term when x plus 4 times x take 5 is expanded? So expanding this, we get x squared at 4x take 5x take 20, and minus 20 is the constant term on the end. Factorize x squared at 5x at 6 and say what is the largest constant in the factors. Factorizing gives us x at 2 times x at 3, and the largest constant is 3. Evaluate 27 to the 2/3. So first we evaluate 27 to the 1/3, which is 3, and then we raise that to the power of 2, which is 9. Simplify root 18 plus root 2. So root 18 is root 9 times root 2, which is 3 times root 2, and thus it becomes 3 root 2 plus root 2, which is 4 root 2. What is the denominator after rationalizing 3 over 2 plus root 2? So the numerator and denominator have to both be multiplied by 2 minus root 2, but they're only asking for the denominator. So we need to only consider 2 plus root 2 multiplied by 2 minus root 2. And in doing so, and applying FOIL, we get 4 minus 2, which is 2. What is the positive root of x squared minus 9 equals 0? The answer is 2. In the completed square form of x squared add 8x add 10, what is the constant outside the completed square? Okay, so when we complete... Hold on a second. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so in the completed square form of x squared add 8x add 10, what is the constant outside the completed square? So we have to turn it into x add 4 all squared minus 16 plus 10, and then minus 16 plus 10 is negative 6. What is the product of the roots of x squared minus 7x plus 12 equals 0? So we find the roots by factorizing this. And what we get is x minus 3 times x minus 4 equals 0. And so we see that the roots are 3 and 12, 3 and 4 rather, whose product is 12. But they're asking for, no, they are asking for the product. That's unusual. Okay. For what value of c does x squared add 6x add c equals 0 have equal roots? So we need to use the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, and we need that to be equal to 0. So in this case, b squared is 6 squared, which is 36. So it would be 36 minus 4 times c, and that would have to equal 0. And so c would have to be 9. What is the axis of symmetry of y equals x squared minus 10x plus 3? The axis of symmetry of a quadratic is minus b over 2a, and in this case b is negative 10 and a is 1, and therefore the answer is 10 over 2, which is 5. Or rather, x equals 5. A rectangle has perimeter 20 and width x if the area A equals x times 10 minus x. What is the maximum area? What is the maximum area? All right, let's do this. Okay. x times 10 minus x, and therefore we expand it, so we get negative x squared plus 10x. Negative x squared plus 10x. Okay, so the width being 5 would be the line of symmetry, and so we have to do 5 multiplied by 10 minus 5, so the answer is 25. If 2x add y equals 11 and x take y equals 1, what is y? Alright, so 2x add y is equal to 11 and x minus y is equal to 1. So we're going to add them together, and we get 3x equals 12, and therefore x is equal to 4. And then we're going to use the second equation. So x minus y is equal to 1, and if x is equal to 4, then y is equal to 3. How many intersection points do y equals x squared add 1 and y equals x have? Okay, so if y is equal to x and y is equal to x squared add 1, then x is equal to x squared add 1, and rearranging, x squared minus x plus 1 equals 0, and thus we get a quadratic. But applying the discriminant to see if it's solvable, we can see that it's not. The discriminant would be negative, so it has no solutions. For x squared minus 16 is greater than 0, what is the positive boundary value? The best interpretation of this is that the positive boundary is 4. Which inequality is satisfied by points below y equals 2x? Either y is less than 2x or y is greater than 2x. Okay, so we can simply use a test point, and the test point will be 1, 0. Now, for 1, 0, in this case, the x value is clearly greater than the y value, and so we can say that it's y is less than 2x. Does the point 2, 5 satisfy y is less than or equal to x plus 2? We need to only substitute 2 for x and 5 for y. So then the question becomes, is 5 less than or equal to 2 plus 2? And the answer is false. If x becomes very large positive, does y equals negative x cubed become positive or negative? Okay, so if we cube an extremely large positive value, we get positive. However, in this case, we are negating it, and therefore it will become negative. Hello. What is the minimum value of y equals x minus 1 all to the power of 4 plus 2? So the minimum value of y equals x to the 4 is 0, 0. And then subtracting 1 from the argument will move that vertex horizontally 1 unit to the left, and adding 2 to the whole function will move that vertex 2 units up. And therefore the new minimum becomes negative 1, 2. Right, so we're nearly halfway there. What is the horizontal asymptote of y equals 1 over x? The horizontal asymptote is the x-axis, which is specified by y equals 0. How many intersection points do y equals x squared and y equals negative 1 have? For y equals x squared, we should be able to visualize that by now as the unit parabola. As for y equals negative 1, that's a horizontal line passing through negative 1. As in, imagine the x, but translated downwards by 1 unit. So they have no intersection points. If f of x is equal to x cubed, what is f of negative 2? That would be the cube of negative 2, which is negative 8. The graph of y equals f of x becomes y equals f of x plus 4. What is the resulting translation, up or down? By adding 4 to all the y coordinates, the graph translates upwards by 4 units. The graph y equals f of x becomes y equals f of 2x. What is the resulting effect? Okay, so the resulting effect is a horizontal compression by a factor of 2. What is the gradient of the line through 1, 2 and 3, 10? So we need to apply the formula change of y over change in x. And in this case, the change of y is 10 minus 2 all over 3 minus 1, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. What is the equation of the line passing through 0, 0 with gradient -3? The answer is y equals -3x. What is the gradient of a line parallel to y equals -x plus 5? As y equals -x plus 5 has a gradient of -1, any line parallel to that has the same gradient, and thus the answer is -1. What is the length of the line segment from 1, 1 to 4, 5? So we need to only apply the Pythagorean theorem upon the change in y and the change in x. The change in y is 4, the change in x is 3, and thus it's the square root of 4 squared add 3 squared, which is the square root of 25, which is 5. And that's the length of the line segment connecting 1, 1 and 4, 5. What is the midpoint of -2, 4 and 6, 0? So we need only find the midpoints of the x-coordinates and the midpoints of the y-coordinates. So the midpoints of the x-coordinates is 2, and the midpoint of the y-coordinates is 2 as well, and thus it's 2, 2. If y equals 2x plus 1 models cost, and x is the number of units sold, which is 7, then what is the cost? We need to only substitute x 7 for x and figure out what y is. So y is equal to 2 times 7 plus 1, which is 15. What is the equation of the circle with center 0, 0 and radius 5? The answer is x squared add y squared equals 25. What is the radius of x add 3 all squared plus y take 2 all squared equals 10? According to the formula for the standard equation of a circle, that would be root 10. What is the center of x squared add y squared add 6x, take 4y, add 9 equals 0? So we need to collect the x terms, collect the y terms, and complete the squares of both of them, and that's all we need to do to find the center. The radius is more steps. But in doing so, we find that the center well, when we complete the square, we get x at 3 all squared plus y take 2 all squared, and thus the center is negative 3 comma 2. Does the point 1 comma 1 lie on x squared at y squared equals 2? The answer is yes. What is the equation of the tangent to x squared at y squared equals 9 at the point 3 comma 0? All right. So connecting the origin to 3 comma 0, that line segment will have a gradient of 0. Oh, and so the tangent, oh, interesting. Okay, they did a different one. Okay, so it's simply x equals 3. If a line from the center bisects a chord, what is the angle between that line and the chord in degrees? The answer is 90 degrees. Simplify 2x over 4. The answer is half x. What is the quotient when 2x squared at 5x take 3 is divided by x at 3? All right. Let's do it. The answer is wait, is that a negative sign? Wait. What is the quotient when 2x squared at 5x minus 3 is divided by x plus 3? Okay, the answer is 2x minus 1. Is x minus 1 a factor of x cubed minus 1? The answer is yes. Oh no, wait. Okay, so What is the remainder when 2x squared add 3x add 1 is divided by x minus 1? The answer is 6. Is the statement if n is even then n squared is even true or false? The answer is true. What type of proof shows a statement is false by giving one counterexample? Proof by counterexample. What is 4 factorial? 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 24. What is 7 choose 3? Okay, so that's the same as 7 choose 4. Seven times 6 times 5 all over 6, which is 35. What is the coefficient of x to the 4 in 1 plus x all to the power of 6? That's 6 choose 4. Which is 15. What is the constant term in 2 plus x all to the power of 4? The answer is 2 to the 4, which is 16. Using the first two terms of 1 plus x all to the power of 10, approximate 1.02 all to the power of 10. Okay, so the first two terms are 1 plus 1 plus 10x. And taking x to be 0.02, thus it becomes 10 times 0.02, which then gives us 1.2. And that